Sometimes there's a felicitous synchronicity between the weekly Torah portion and the events taking place around us. And this week is one such example. In Parashat Chayei Sarah, in Genesis, we encounter Isaac out in the field, the first time he has made an appearance since the trauma of being taken to Mount Moriah to be offered up as a sacrifice there. At the very last moment, his life is spared, and a ram is offered instead. But a careful reading of the text, which occurred in last week's Torah portion, shows that he does not return home with his father, and nor does he appear at his mother Sarah's funeral in the next chapter. It isn't until we are into the second chapter of this week's parashah that we know he is at least alive. For Abraham summons the chief steward of his household and instructs him to find a wife for his son Isaac. The servant takes 10 camels and gifts and makes a long journey north to Aram Naharaim, to the city of Nahor. As he makes the camels kneel down at the water well at evening time, he prays to God to bring him luck. May the young woman who offers water to me and to my master's camels be the one designated for my master's son, for Isaac, he says. He has scarcely concluded his prayer when Rebekah, the daughter of Bethuel, Abraham's nephew, comes down to the well with a pitcher on her shoulder. She fills her jar with water from the spring, offers it to the steward, and then draws more water for the camels. That's a lot of water, by the way, for 10 camels. And the man is ushered into her home, there to meet with her brother Laban. In a long and elaborate speech, the steward explains his mission and his encounter with the beautiful young woman, who is Isaac's first cousin once removed, and he invites her to become Isaac's bride. While her mother and brother urge her to delay, Rebekah is eager to begin her journey, and so she sets off with her nurse and with Abraham's servant. The narrative then makes a seamless and beautiful transition from this scene by the well and in Rebekah's home back to the land of Canaan, the home of Abraham. And it is here that we suddenly encounter Isaac once again, no longer the terrified boy bound to the altar, but a young man coming from the Negev, where he's been living. It is evening, and he has gone out to stroll in the field, and as he is walking, he looks up and sees camels coming. Now, the Hebrew of this verse about Isaac walking in the field is both ambiguous and pregnant with meaning. Here's the Hebrew. Vayetze Yitzchak lasuach basadeh lifnot erev. And Isaac went out lasuach in the field. Many translations of this word lasuach say that Isaac went out for a little stroll in the field. But they're reading the verb lasuach not with a het at the end, as its last letter, but with a tet, lashut. He went roving about, he was walking to and fro. I'm not really very sure why some of the scholars amend the final letter of this word. It may be because one of the early translations of the Hebrew Bible, which is called the Peshitta, the Syriac translation of the Hebrew Bible, which was made in the 2nd century of the Common Era, translates the word in this way into Aramaic, into Syriac. Isaac was having a little wander in the field. But other Aramaic translations in the Talmud have Isaac praying in the field, understanding our verb, lasuach, to mean to meditate, as in a verse from the Psalms, Bifkudecha asicha va'abita ochotecha. I will meditate, asichas, the same root, upon your precepts. I regard your ways. However, here's another interpretation by Rashi's grandson, Rashbam, Rabbi Samuel ben Meir. He understands the word lasuach to come from a similar root, but with a different meaning, siach, which means a bush, a shrub, or a plant. And that's from a root meaning to grow or shoot up, particularly of trees. We come across the word as a noun in the second creation story in Genesis chapter 2. V'chol siach hasadeh terem yehiyeh va'aretz. You can hear it's the same letters, siach, as suach, when no shrub of the field was yet on earth. And again, we come across it in Genesis 21, when Hagar casts her son Ishmael under achad hasichim, one of the bushes. So, what was Isaac doing out in the field, asks Rashbam. Perhaps he was indeed walking to and fro. He was having a little evening wander. He was examining the ground, maybe. Perhaps he was praying or meditating, reflecting on the beauty around him. But Rashbam places him in the field, planting sichim, trees. This weekend, as we anticipate with some trepidation the outcome of the COP26 talks in Glasgow, Rashbam's interpretation of this one verb in Genesis seems a felicitous and instructive indicator, and perhaps even a message to those engaged in detailed discussions and decision-making. I hope there will be some time for participants at this important conference of parties to step outside their cruise ships and conference halls and see something of Scotland's beautiful and wild landscape, its mountains and lakes, its rugged coastline, its waterfalls that rush down into the valley of the River Clyde, its botanic gardens and forests. When we contemplate these fragile and endangered landscapes and reflect and meditate on their beauty, we are drawn to contemplate our Creator, and we are reminded that we need to live in balance with the natural world, taking care that our footprint is light, and that more than we remove from the earth, we help it to nurture things that grow and flourish, so that in future generations they will benefit from our investment and care of the planet, and come to meditate on the handiwork of our Creator, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One. Blessed be God's name. Amen.